item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Board, your pleasure.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the executive session and the regular session minutes of June 9th, 2026.
Brad, that was you, Brad? Any comments? Okay, board, you may vote. And that passes 6-0. Ricky is absent, and I am standing in her absence as the vice president. Next item on the agenda is financial reports.
All right, Grace, you have an audience.
All right, I'll get started. So first we have school education for $989,052.77. We have the education form Kerr-Mat. We have $8,232.72. Exempt operating post 2009, we have $97,502.78. School operations, $337,850.41. School lunch, we have $102,237.56. Self-insurance fund, we have $415,141.42. Community gifts and donations, $85.96. Building brickies, $865.01. SUH Educational Foundation, $2,965.92. The Pope Family Donation Fund, $300. Early Years Initiative Grant, $288.59. Healthy Hobart / BFTS is $1,136.31. Community Partners, $329.54. Formative Assessment Grant, $6,342.56. Teacher Appreciation, $21,002.53. High Ability, we have $60.80. Connectivity Grant, $5,275. Title I, Part A, FY 25/26, $6,759.03. Title, is that 4? It's been a while.
Roman numerals.
Yes, okay, Title IV, FY 25/26, we have $389.90. Medicaid reimbursement federal, $70,045.27. Title II, Part A, FY 25/26, $635.46. Clearing accounts, $464,703.21. Self-insurance clearing, $71,441.27. Clearing / flexible benefits, AF, $17,255.17. Prepaid food is $230.90. Clearing / ins account, $4,483.18. Credit card fee clearing, $52.18, and that brings us to a total of $2,624,665.45.
Great job, Grace.
Great job, Grace.
Big numbers there.
Look what you learned.
Yes. I know my Roman numerals.
Board,
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve payment of vouchers for June 18th, 2026.
Second.
okay, discussion?
I note, board, you have an addendum to the vouchers.
Grace, you need to read the addendum. So, and Bill, you need to give some instruction about how to include the addendum.
All right, so you have a motion to approve the vouchers. you can amend that motion to include the addendum, and that change reflected in the addendum would then be part of the approval.
I'll amend that to include the amended.
Ms. Grace, would you read the addendum, please?
Due to a processing error in Low, our accounting software, one of our paid RX protected invoices was omitted from last month's financial report. Our pre-run docket total should have been $6,885.17 higher than reported. I'm attaching document of the said invoice and record of the payments. I apologize for the inconvenience.
But that was a software error, and we do appreciate our treasurer catching that.
So I'll amend my, I'll approve payment of the amended vouchers, June 18th, 2026.
Thank you.
Second. Correct?
Here. Any more discussion? Board, you may vote. And that passes 6-0. Thank you. Next agenda item. We have comments on agenda items from the audience. Do you have any comments? There are no comments at this time. Next agenda item is personnel.
Board, in your packet, you have a copy of the personnel report for June 18th, and you also have an addendum. Board action is requested.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve personnel reports and addendum as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote. And that passes 6-0 with one absent. Okay, next we have the recognition of the 2025-26 school board representative.
Well, we have a recognition night tonight. Thank you for Grace Anderson's family being in the audience. Xu Jing, who is our other student board rep, will be recognized on July 2nd. She is out of the country. So the spotlight is you tonight, Grace. So first and foremost, I can just say that Grace has been such a wonderful addition to the school board. Now, whether or not she held this position with the school board it wouldn't matter. She would serve in any capacity we would ask her to do. And when I think of Grace, I always think of how selfless she actually is. She is dedicated, committed, hardworking, and all she really wants is to serve other people and make a difference in their life, which is an extraordinary quality for someone like Grace. And so it did not matter what I would have to ask her we needed assistance on something. She was always there for the call, and she has fulfilled her duties on the school board in the most exemplary way. She's a role model for other people to follow for sure. I always find this kind of meeting to be bittersweet because you get attached to the individuals that you have been around for so long. And I've known Grace for a very long time, and it's hard to let go. But I also know she's going to be amazing at whatever she does. And I was reading this really incredible book. Our school district is in it. And I'll have to talk to the board about it some other time. But inside of that book, at the very end in the epilogue, it was really very cool when the author of the book said, sometimes people think that it's extraordinary people. And he said, it's really just ordinary people trying to make a difference. And so, I could say Grace is extraordinary in every mention of that word, but really the part that captures it is that she wants to make a difference for other people. And that is the quality that I love about Grace. When I think about her role in Wolfgang, and I have been to so many performances, particularly those of the military, and I just watch how it has such an impact on them and their loved ones, and just taking them back in time or tugging at their heartstring, and how much it means to them, and how selfless she has shown up for their performances and their practices and everything that she's involved in, including being a student board rep. And she did it because she did it for other people, and she did not do it for herself. And that's what I admire about her. And as she goes forward, she is going to do amazing things. And I would just say, from the minute I met her as a freshman trying to do something for foster children, I knew that we had a gem on our hands. I knew a little bit about her at the middle school, but really up here, she's just been a shining star. To her family, you have been incredible support for her, and just wonderful parents, because how could you not be, something not be said about you and the young lady that you've raised? She is just incredible. And so, Grace, we do have, and I know the board probably wants to say a few things before we have a little token of appreciations for you, but let's let the other board members talk too. And then we have a little something for you. And then you can talk too if you'd like. Okay?
Grace, I just want to say to your parents that they got it right when they named you Grace, because that name describes you perfectly. You do everything with grace, humility, and you're very professional for being 18. Are you 17?
I'm 18.
You're 18. But you carry yourself like a young adult that is already out there in the professional world, and you do it with grace. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'd just like to add that, your input has been very valuable this year. As you can tell, we're a little bit older, and so we're gonna have to, need perspective sometimes. But so I'd like to thank you for that, and wish you the best of luck. And produce, spoiler up.
Yes, spoiler up, thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you here. It's been a pleasure watching you grow through the year, seeing all the things you've accomplished. I know you've been busy, but we thank you for coming out, spending a couple hours with us.
I want to wish you the very best, and I hope that you are very successful and make a ton of money so that you can pay your social security if you guys retire from that.
Coach, you never disappoint.
I'll piggyback a little bit on what Sandy said. Definitely, for an 18-year-old, you exude professionalism, so that's very good to see at your age. Definitely wish you the absolute best of luck. And, here in the school city of Hobart, we always like to be excellent on purpose, and you are a proud example of that.
Thank you.
Stu?
I would just say that, yeah, for an 18-year-old, you've accomplished way more than I ever could have accomplished, and I'm just a little bit older than you. No, you have a lot of better things to come, so I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing all the things you accomplish and all the things that you do for the people.
All right. Well, I think Mr. Rogers has the card, and then we have a little token of appreciation for you besides the card.
Thank you.
And then you can open it up. Okay. Thank you to Mrs. Schoon that took care of putting it all together for us.
Okay, thank you.
It's a giant brick.
Wait, do I have to have room on the table at the open house for this?
You do have room you'll be fine.
You could probably have way more
Thank
words than you
you.
have room for.
All right, so like if you could tip it forward so maybe your family can see it.
If you want to take pictures, move over.
And you can come up.
And so it's a compass, and true north is what we would like to say, Grace. So always find your true north.
Oh, Grace, that's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Mr. Keene, Mrs. Hillen and I tried to warn him, it's one of the toughest jobs that we have is choosing someone, and we choose the best of the best. And obviously, you were our selection last year, and you did such an amazing job. I don't know if you want to express anything now, but again, we can't thank you enough for your service.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve on this board. It's definitely been an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything, and something that I don't think, like, you can gain other skills doing something else. Like, this is definitely something that I'm glad that I did, and I learned some things that I probably wouldn't have learned about it. So thank you guys for this experience and welcoming me and choosing on the board. So yeah, thank you.
Best wishes.
Thank you.
All right, your duties are almost over, Grace.
Okay.
To her mom and dad, you don't, yeah, to family, you don't have to stay.
Yeah, we're open house is Saturday, I'm sure, I hope.
Oh, you guys are all invited. by the
Yeah,
way.
you guys are all invited. Please relay the important.
I'll relay the information during comments.
Okay, there you go. See, she knows where her role is at the end with comments.
I love it. Well, thank you guys for everything. I appreciate the opportunity you gave Grace, and, I know that she will be missed when she leaves. And goes, an hour and 15 minutes down the road.
I drove it all the time, so trust me, it's good. I'm a
Yeah.
Boilermaker, so.
I know this. So,
I do wanna just tell, for the audience purposes, we're getting ready to release a video of the school city of Hobart, in partnership with the city. And, it's an amazing video, and we kinda take you through a little bit of history, and Grace is one of the students that we highlight. And, it's professionally done, and of course, her mother is in the video too. It was very timely that she sent me an email, and I'm like, hey, by the way, could you be in a video with us? And so, but I will say, I cried when I watched it, and it's that excellent. And we'll be releasing that probably mid-July is when that will be released, and you'll get to see some really cool things about your perspective of School City of Hobart and yours as well. It's pretty cool.
thank you guys for the opportunity for Grace, and, we're gonna go because I'm knee deep in open house prep.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Would like some popcorn on the way out.
No, we're good. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
No, I'll take it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The next agenda item is a resolution concerning alternative services agreement. Mr. Porras.
Yes, we have a, resolution from the school city of Hobart, resolution number 2026-20, concerning alternative services agreements with the Indiana Department of Education and private education agencies.
Board? Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me give just a little background on this. This would be for a continuum of educational placement that perhaps we would not be able to do within the confines of our agreement with NICEC, and they have to be properly placed in a different setting. And this allows us to delegate the director of special education to do that if we cannot provide those means of services. And that's what this resolution is. We've been doing it for years. It's rare that anything like that ever happens, but in an emergency setting, you need that capability to be able to do that.
Board, make a motion.
Make a motion that the board adopt resolution number 2026-20 as presented.
Second.
Roll call vote?
David Cosby,
Aye.
Don Rogers,
Aye.
Brad Key,
Aye.
Stuart Schultz,
Aye.
Frank Torres, both aye, Cindy Gillen,
Aye.
and Ricky Godfrey's absent.
I did forget, comments. Does anybody have any comments? vote electronically as well.
Voting block.
Wonder why?
You don't have voting blocks?
Well, no, I just, when my computer went to sleep while we were
Um,
talking, so I'm assuming I'm unsynced, and it's not synced. How long have I blocked that computer? I got it. I got it.
There we go.
Okay, that passes 6-0 with one absence. The next item on the agenda is a recommendation to accept the media specialist agreement with Northern Indiana Education Service Center.
Board, in your packet, you have a copy of an agreement with the district service center. And, if you have to have a licensed, media specialist in your district, to serve. We currently have one, but there is going to be a change of assignment. And so, with that being said, this is an additional service that costs the district $5,000 because it's required to have one in your school district. And, our district service center provides that service. And you're probably thinking, well, what would that service entail? Well, the service would entail, unbeknownst to you, every library has to spend $8 per kid on replenishing their libraries, and so that's in the budget. But going over list of books that you may adopt, or what are you filtering out, what are your research databases, which in conjunction now with the Lake County Library, you're actually seeing a lot less of checkout, particularly here at your high school, because they can get it other ways. And so I would just tell you that this is a good agreement because it is required by law, and we'll take care of it with this agreement. Board action is requested.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the contracted director of media agreement as presented.
Second.
Frankie was right next to me, so I heard. But it was,
It was-
you didn't? It was
Stu.
Stu. Oh my goodness. I guess we need my hearing checked as well.
Frank, no.
Any discussion? Okay, we vote. And that passes 6-0 with one absence. Next on the agenda, we have a referendum. I mean, a resolution of referendum. Okay.
Bite
you
your
really
tongue,
did work
Sandy.
hard today. Okay, a resolution, Mr. Porras.
Yes, we have a resolution 2026-21 of the Board of School Trustees of School City of Hobart. One, confirming status as an eligible school corporation. Second, approving the refunding of the Hobart Building Corporation of outstanding 2016 bonds. And third, approving forms of bond financing documents in connection therewithin. And four, addressing other matters related thereto.
Board, so this resolution it will take you back to, looking at restructuring, refunding of those bonds back in 2016. I know Mr. Longer may have a few words about it as well, but as you well know, as we're looking at Senate Enrolled Act 1 and some of the devastation that it's caused our school district amongst others, what this in essence does is that the law was clear that if you were losing more than 60% of your operating budget as well as your debt service, that you could be eligible for refunding of your bonds through restructuring. And School City of Hobart is losing 93% of their operating budget. And so that makes us eligible, and that's really what this resolution what this would allow us to do is to pay the principal of those bonds and retain the rest of that to put back in our operating budget so as to pay our utility bills, our insurance, and the people that are not paid out of the education fund. So like casualty insurance, all of the insurances that you have, all your utilities, all of those are paid out of your operating budget. And if you lost 93% of it, you have 7% left, you don't have enough to pay your NIPSCO bill. And so I'm just telling you that this is required for us to be able to operate pretty much. And so I'm grateful that the legislators were able to take a look at people that were hurt very badly at SEA 1 and us being one of them. 11 school corporations were eligible for this with the House Enrolled Act 1210. And so we should take full advantage of this situation to be able to make a correction to our operating budget. Mr. Longer, I don't know if you want to add anything, but.
Well, I think I would add that the combination of your tax caps and Senate Enrolled Act 1 has had a devastating impact on a number of school corporations throughout the state, an adverse impact on probably every corporation in the state. And many of them have been complaining about the impact and what the legislature has done. But your superintendent came up with a way to mitigate the damage and hired the people to do the financial data to support an argument for relief, appeared in front of legislative committees and testified, hired the right lobbyist to help us make this happen. And so she not only identified the problem, she presented the state legislature with a solution and got it passed. So we're fortunate that we have the opportunity to take advantage of what she's accomplished for us, and this resolution is authorizing doing exactly what that legislation was intended to allow.
And as Mr. Longer indicated, when you look at the original circuit breaker with the property tax cap back in 2009, many people view Senate Enrolled Act 1 as a second circuit breaker. And what the average homeowner is going to see in our state is about $300. But the devastation that's happening to libraries and schools is so much greater than $300 a household. And so I hope that they take a really close look at this in the next legislative session, which it's not a short session, and that's when they do their budget. So I'm very hopeful that they will come back and take a second look at this. This is a little different than municipalities. Municipalities have the authority to tax. School corporations do not. Just for the board's own purposes, there will probably be over 100 school corporations going out on referendums in the fall. And as you know, we just passed a referendum, and going out on a referendum is a process. To get all of your legal documents and what's going to be on the ballot and all of these things in order. And I even had people at the Maria Reiner Center saying, if they pass that, you're not asking for enough money. And I said, it's too late. We already have published what we're asking for, and it's already on the ballot. You can't go back and change that. So even people in the community saw Senate Enrolled Act 1 and knew, well, at that time it was not a law, but they saw that could be problematic. When you look at every school corporation is affected differently by it. If you are in a community that has a nice industrial base, you're not affected by it so greatly. Keep in mind, this is property tax relief, and we're almost 79% residential in the school city of Hobart. And so this has devastating effects to us. And this is and as I've said to the board before, this is a very Band-Aid approach to this. until we see what they might possibly do. Could we, in the future, if they don't correct this, could we see in the future that we may have to do another referendum and put it in the hands of the taxpayers? It's a possibility. If you can't pay your utility bill because of a law that has strapped you in your operating budget, you have to do something to pay your bills. And so it's not a matter of anything except for the revenue is not matching the expenditure. And a lot of people really don't understand that operating budgets are totally different from the education fund. The education fund is where you pay your teacher and your employees that affect the classroom. That's what that fund is for. Any other employee that is not part of that equation is out in the operating budget. So who would be out in the operating budget? A custodial engineer, right? So all of our custodians are paid out of the operating budget. The SROs, my portion with the city, paid out of the operating budget. Our school nurses are paid out of the operating budget. All of our utility bills, casualty insurance, cybersecurity, workers' comp, you name it, all of that comes out of the operating budget. And so people don't really understand that. And so school finance is extremely complicated. We've done an amazing job with being so fiscally responsible, but sometimes you can't fix what they've created. And I was so grateful to the Senate and the House that were willing to hear this and to act on it. And so it is really imperative for our school district that the board adopt this resolution and we proceed with that to try to help correct that shortfall of tax revenue that we are not going to be able to get.
Board, I would also advise you that at 5:30 this evening, Dr. Buffington and I met with the Board of Directors of the Hobart Building Corporation. They also have to approve this measure for the refunding to occur, and they did vote at their meeting at 5:30 to approve the refunding.
I'd like to make a motion that the board adopt resolution 2026-21 as presented.
Second.
Mr. Forrest, will you read the name?
Yes, roll call, David Cosday,
Aye.
Don Rogers.
Aye.
Brad King.
Aye.
Stuart Schultz.
Aye.
Frank Forrest votes aye. Cindy Hillen.
Aye.
And Vicky Cosby votes.
If I could, just for a comment, I just wanted, from the board, thank you and thank Mr. Longer and thank all the staff, working with you. I know that it was countless hours, travel time, up and down, back and forth, for taking that time and looking into it and talking to people and making this happen, not just for our district, but for so many across the state, whether they knew what was going on or not at the time, and whether they realized what you did for them as well as us. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate the time and the dedication and the shining example you set for the students.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah.
Any other discussion? You may vote.
Thank you.
Thank you for the support.
All right. And that passes in favor 6-0 with one absent. The next item on the agenda is board policy consideration, the first reading of resolution adopting updates for Hobart School Board policy. Mr. Longer.
Board, at our work session held this evening at 6:30, we discussed proposed amendments to board policy. The majority of these are updating board policy to reflect the inclusion of artificial intelligence. And we discussed those at the work session. I can go through them again if you'd like. I'm assuming you would like that I not do that. But this is the first reading of these amendments to board policy, and assuming that they are passed on the first reading, they would be placed on the agenda at the next regular board meeting for second reading and final adoption.
I'd like to make a motion that the board adopt resolution
Would
number.
you read the resolution first?
Oh,
Sorry, just in time. Frank,
Yes, we have a resolution, School City of Hobart, Board of Schools Trustees, resolution number 2026-22. A resolution approving amendments to the bylaws and policies of the Board of School Trustees of the School City of Hobart.
Okay, we'll request board action.
I'd like to make a recommendation that the board adopt resolution number 2026-22 for the bylaws and policies changes in the comprehensive document entitled Bylaws and Policies of the School City of Hobart, and move the second reading and possible adoption to the July 2nd, 2026 board meeting.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I'd like to thank Mr. Longer for his full explanation on these policies, so thank you very much.
All right, we may vote by roll call.
Yes, we have a roll call, David Cosby.
Aye.
Don Rogers.
Aye.
Brad King.
Aye.
Stuart Schultz.
Aye.
Frank Boris votes aye. Cindy Hillen.
Aye.
And Ricky Geraldo is absent.
Okay, that passes 6-0 with one absent. The next item on the agenda is a recommendation for approval of the 26-27 student handbooks.
Board in your packet, you have a copy of our handbooks, which is a very pared down version of your board policy, if you would. And so every year we meet with staff and we go over some of the additional changes that might need to take place in the handbook. You have a summary of the updates that we've included in the handbooks, should there be any questions about that. I'm extremely thankful to Mr. Mock, who leads that, brings that discussion back and goes over those things with me. As you well know, the other aspect of the handbook, just like your board policy, reflects any legislative changes. And so a really great example tonight in your board policy, as you were looking at AI, that AI policy gets picked up and put in the student handbook. And so that's code of conduct. You could also look at academic integrity if you would. It could also lead to other things of this use of AI outside of the academic arena and lead into things such as harassment or intimidation. And so, our job is to provide order in the school, and what is the basis of what that order looks like comes straight out of your board policy, and so we make it understandable for students. I always like to tell people, here's board policy, administrative guidelines, and the student handbook. It's like an upside down triangle, if you would, or you could, think of it as a funnel, but we make it as easy as possible for people to understand what the laws are and what your policies are that govern our school corporation. The most important part of that handbook is the code of conduct, right? So you cannot run a school corporation, a school, without having order in your school. And we clearly lay out what the code of conduct is in every handbook. You will see minor changes here and there. One of the biggest changes in all of the handbooks, of course, is the AI policy and preserving thinking and learning and owning your work, and the different levels that we are putting into this with AI. And it really does come down to the first policy reading that you're looking at tonight, and moving forward with a second reading at your next board meeting. But what's critical here is identifying the level of use that you are allowed to do by your teacher, but defining what those levels are. And I want to tell you how serious we took this. This has been months of work. When you start off trailblazing with using AI in your school corporation, which we have been at the forefront of it, what you do have indeed now is you have very active users. We have to preserve the learning process, and it has to be in conjunction with the classroom teacher. And so we have very defined levels from meetings with teachers, and probably the most beneficial to us were the focus groups that we did with students. Because we can make policy all day long if they're, and protocol to follow in their handbook, but if they don't understand it and it's still not clear enough to them, then we didn't do our job correctly. So I had the principals and Dr. Krieg and myself, and we, and even when we were doing student board rep interviews, I took another round after interviewing people, and I gave the information to them, and I'm like, hey, they brought it up to me, give me your feedback. What you see in the handbook is a result of so much hard work in trying to define what the proper levels of usage is. All the way from you can't use it, level 0, level 1 looks more like a tutor, level 2 looks more like a coach, and level 3 looks more of a collaborating partner. And we define what those are and what it looks like in a playbook. And we will be going over that with our students at the beginning of the year. I have a couple of amazing teachers helping me with a Canvas module to explain all of this to students. And then obviously explaining it to teachers, and their syllabus and their assignments will reflect the level of AI. There will be no question about what level you can use it for. I'm an advocate for it, and I will say this, that, you know, and I say this now because I think this is really important. You can't live without AI now, and it can't live without us. You do have to have discernment, and you do have to, is the information valid? Our job as educators is to teach them how to use it ethically, and how to use it responsibly, and how will you use it in the future, and will you use discernment and the information that you're gaining from it and applying it to the jobs that you have. This is an extremely important, it's an extremely important skill that we have to teach our students. Questioning, critical thinking, and using the tools to help with whatever jobs will be in the future with AI. And so we've done a ton of work on this. I'm very proud of it. It's in the handbook. And if we need to make adjustments to it as AI continues to grow, we will. And that's really the bottom line. I don't know if you have any questions, but we can do that during discussion after you perhaps get a motion to accept the handbook changes so that we can start working on publishing those for the following school year.
Board?
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the student handbooks for the 2026-2027 school year as presented.
Second.
Discussion.
I'd say definitely thank you for how you put it together. I know it's a lot of work. The summaries are really helpful.
Mr. Mock does a great job with that part of it. He really
Very
does.
helpful, yeah.
Yep, he's
It's a lot to
awesome.
read through to not know necessarily what was changed, so that it's great to be able to just pinpoint spots, see what's changed, do it. So pass on, thank you, Mr. Mark.
I sure will. I have to say, he doesn't really like this part of his job, but, but that's okay.
Can't wait.
No. I think the AI was giving him gray hair, if you would, because I had to keep making changes in it. And I will just say the last two students that Mr. Keene and Mrs. Hillen, part of our interviews, a couple of those students that we interviewed to be student board reps, they were so insightful. And so this is after going through rounds with middle school and high school students giving us feedback on what we had. And a couple of these students were on it. I said, will you look at this and give me your feedback? And they were on it.
They will.
And so I was so proud of them for doing that.
All right, we voted, that passed in favor 6-0 with 1 absence. The next agenda item. Transfer funds, authorizing the transfer of funds from education fund to the operations fund.
Board, we are requesting for the budget year 2026 $5,941,561 was approved for the transfer from the education fund to the operating fund. To date, we have transferred $1,325,000. And at this point, I'm requesting that $1,300,000 be transferred from the education fund to the operating fund. This will leave a balance of $3,316,561 available for transfer through the end of the calendar year. Board action is requested.
Make a motion that the board approve the transfer as presented, and authorize the treasurer of the school city of Hobart to transfer $1,300,000 from the education fund to the operations fund.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would just remind the board that, out of the two funds that we have, we are allowed to transfer 15%, out of the education fund into the operating fund, and as you well know, I already gave you that percentage. 93% of the operating budget is, gone, and so, we've always had to transfer 15% out of the education fund in order to keep the operating budget healthy along with the referendum. And I've already gone over why that exists. I will say this, if we did not have to transfer that, probably could have more teachers, lower class sizes, their salaries would probably look a little different. And so it's unfortunate that we have to take all of that out of the education fund. But that is the state of affairs in school finance.
Okay, board. That passes in favor 6-0 with one absence. The next agenda item is permission to advertise notice to bidders.
Well, if you were at the last board meeting, that was a marathon meeting, but a great meeting at that, where the mayor and the city donated money for us to have synthetic turf and lights at baseball and softball varsity fields. It was a fantastic evening for the school city of Hobart. Now we move into the next phase of proceeding with this project, and what you have in front of you is a notice to bidders to be received by the school city of Hobart, and let the bidding begin. So what we're actually looking for here is just the notice to bidders, and we are asking for your permission to advertise to allow them to know that we're going to be accepting bids for those construction projects. Board action is requested.
To make the motion that the board approve and grant permission to publish the notice to bidders for school city of Hobart varsity baseball and softball turf fields project.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, you may vote. And that passes in favor 6-0 with one absence. The next item on the agenda is resolution establishing bidding practices and submission requirements. Mr. Forrest, will you read the name of the resolution?
So we have a resolution. School City of Hobart, Board of School Trustees, resolution number 2026-23. A resolution to establish responsible bidding practices and submission requirements.
Mr. Walker?
Board, you have before you a resolution that basically sets forth what the bidders must provide as part of their bid in order to assure that we have the most responsive and responsible lowest bidder. And you can see in the resolution the language in there outlining the requirements imposed upon bidders. We had a similar resolution that was adopted in the past. This is updating that resolution, and it sets forth the criteria in there. As you look at that, you will realize that much of what is being asked for is information or training that is common practice with your union labor. It's not necessarily common practice with all non-union labor, okay? But the reality is you get what you pay for, and we want the best quality. And so the purpose of the resolution is to make sure that the bidders meet the criteria to provide us with the best quality. Having said that, in the past, with installation of artificial turf, I think we had a situation where a bidder for a project had wanted to bring in out-of-state employees that they had trained, especially in artificial turf installation. And the question was whether the responsible bidding ordinance, or resolution rather, that was in effect at that time, whether that presented any obstacle to bringing in out-of-state labor to perform work that they'd been specially trained for. And it had a bearing on, obviously the price of a contract, but it also could have a bearing, depending on who the bidder is, on what they're willing to extend as far as the warranty for the work done. So I would ask that if the board see fit to adopt this resolution, that they do so making it clear that they do not intend to preclude out-of-state labor if it's necessary to bring somebody in to perform a function that isn't commonly available locally. I would anticipate that any bidder that obtains a bid for turf installation would probably use a combination of local labor and possibly some out-of-state people.
And so, just in reference to Mr. Longer, in particular, when you look at bid packages for synthetic turf, and you're wondering what happens with the bid process, I think Skillman and Dion, our representative from Skillman, did a really good job of explaining it to us. It's going to depend on who the bidder is in this particular instance, because it depends on which turf they choose to submit with their bid, and that is very customizable. And I'm just going to say there's really only 2 companies that deal with synthetic turf, and so we'll have to see who comes in with the correct bid. But to Mr. Longer's explanation to all of you, one of them might be a person that uses out-of-state people to do the turf installation, and that's just because that's part of their bid package, because they've been trained to install that specific turf.
Certainly we want to encourage the use of local
Exactly.
labor. We don't want to discourage that in any way. But I'm asking that the board make clear its intent that if they adopt this resolution, it's not intended to preclude the use of out-of-state labor that's otherwise qualified if necessary.
Mr. Longer, would that be included in the motion, that they add that in the motion?
It wouldn't hurt to have the motion indicate it's with that understanding, okay? My concern is that the resolution could be construed by some as prohibiting out-of-state labor, and I don't want it to be construed that way, because then it could create a complicating factor for us later. And if the motion indicates that with that understanding that the resolution is being adopted, then we have something that can be indicated or reflected in the minutes as a clear indication of what the board's intention was.
We recently replaced the synthetic turf on the football field a few years back. Did we run into this problem then?
I don't think we did then, but I think it was an issue with the original installation.
With the original installation, it was problematic. And really, when you're looking at the bidders, you have laborers with one field company, and you have, carpenters with another, and construction workers, if you would, and the two are in conflict with, like, who's appropriate. Neighboring school corporations have had this issue as well. In talking with the union hall, I do believe that they have resolved this issue, because they know there's only two companies that install turf. And so, I think the important thing that Mr. Launder said is that the intent of this is to use union, which is what we wanna do, and, we prefer local people to get the work. I'm proud to say that, we built this high school, we added a pool, we built an elementary school, and we've used union workers, and they do amazing work here. And so, this will really be in the hands of the bidders on who will be the best installers. And again, if you just go back up to your original document on your resolution, it still always comes back to who is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. And it will be up to Skillman and your representative, as well myself and the architect, to make sure that we choose the most responsive bidder and to follow this resolution. By the way, you will get, when those bids come back, you will get a recommendation to accept those bids, so you will know exactly who it is that got the bids.
I'd like to make a motion that the board adopt resolution number 2026-23 as presented, and it is not intended to preclude the use of out-of-state workers.
That's fine.
So do I change the motion?
Second.
Pat can get it in her written
Okay.
notices, and
Yeah.
she can go in and change it for you.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call?
Yes, we have a roll call, David Cosby.
Aye.
Don Rogers.
Aye.
Brian Keane.
Aye.
Stuart Schultz. Brian Forrest votes aye. Cindy Gillen.
Aye.
And Ricky Belton is absent.
And this passes. Thank you, that passed 6-0 with one absence. Next on the agenda is updates and announcements and reports. Dr. Harrington.
All right, well, it says on here, none.
I should have deleted it. sorry.
No, that's okay.
And comments?
Well, I would just say, it's really interesting, when people ask, like, hey, are you off in the summertime? Are you kidding me? When you look at your central office and your support staff over at the service center, and our principal's last day was Wednesday, except for finishing elementary summer school, and then of course, we're still running our summer session at the high school. Besides summer school, these other departments are running full force. I mean, you have so many things going on. Summer feed program, which I'm really shocked by the rules changed with summer feed, and 1,400 meals on the first 2 days that we did it. Patrick and the crew in school nutrition, our school nutrition department, amazing job. Kids love the menu, and I'm just very excited that is going to be, it's continuing to do well. Which, by the way, we are going to be doing a little fun thing to celebrate the 250th birthday of America on July 1st, and we'll get this on the next board meeting. Oh, nope, it'll be passed because it's July 2nd. But on July 1st, I'm going to team up with the Summer Feed Program, bringing in an author to celebrate the 250th birthday, and the kids are going to get a free book, and they get it signed by the author, which happens to be my sister. But it's a great book about, how do you celebrate the 250th birthday of America? And so we're going to do it with the Summer Feed Program, and it's going to be pretty cool. very thankful for that. But back to the departments. I want to give a shout out to transportation and our maintenance department. You know, we've been trying to hire a mechanic for the longest time and have not been successful. And even when you look at mechanics, are extremely hard to find in the workforce right now. And our maintenance department, as well as transportation, they're out cleaning our buses, they're doing brake inspection, they're doing all of the checklists. We have a former employee that's been coming in, helping us with that, as he owns his own business now, and he's coming in and helping us. Our bus inspection is, I think it's July 8th, I have to go back and check my calendar. But could not do that without these people working so hard. And I'm very proud of them. So just when you think about what's going on at the service center with summer feed and our bus inspection, and then of course you have technology that is running full force as well. So I'm very proud of them. And then of course in our office, you know, we're preparing for budget, we're preparing for legislative changes that you saw here with handbooks, administrators coming back and what our charge is for the following school year, and just curriculum development, title grants. I mean, like, it's nonstop. And you kind of get a little sense of panic. Are you going to get it all done before they come back? And I want to just thank all of these people. Our office is abuzz, the service center is abuzz, and things are going well. So for all of the people that wonder what's going on, those offices are working hard. And I just am appreciative of all the people that serve this school corporation in those two buildings, because they actually paved the way for a very smooth school year. Other than that, I do want to just say, Grace, I will miss you terribly. I hope you come back and share success stories. I think one of the things that I didn't share, but I waited for this particular moment to just say it, the fact that you were able to get that full ride scholarship means so much. And, you know, as I was helping you for that and coaching you and trying to prepare you for that, and just hearing you be able to articulate how important that would be, I knew for sure that they would give it to you. And that's because of who you are. And you didn't need much coaching, but I still will cherish the not once, not twice, but 3 coaching sessions that we had. I will cherish those, because I will always look back and think to myself, you really didn't need it, but I was there to help you in case you thought you needed it. And the day that you were able to tell me that you got it, and I came running down to theater to congratulate you and to see your face, it was so worth it. I know in my mind you will be an amazing veterinarian, and I can't wait to see how far you go. I won't steal where you're going. You have to tell what happened where you're going, and I'll let you do that in the comments section, but that's just another reason why I'm very proud of you. So thank you for just being an amazing Brickie, because you are always the example of being excellent on purpose.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Okay, Mr. Longer?
Grace, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see what the future holds for you. Don't hesitate to come back and tell us how you're doing. Okay.
Corinne, I'm sorry, I skipped over you because I didn't see you.
It's okay. It's okay. I just wanted to say, Grace, I'm very proud of what you have accomplished. The way that everybody talks about you here definitely leads me to believe that you are a very incredible person. As somebody who is almost 10 years your senior, if I had even an ounce of the professionalism that you carry yourself with, I would be a very happy person indeed. And you have very, very good things in store for you, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grace.
Mr. Kreisler?
I got a huge thank you to all those over on the other side with the handbook and the policy updates, but I know that's very time consuming and a lot of work goes into that, so we appreciate that. Grace, again, good luck.
that was the other thing, when they were down there and looking at the weather
The weather,
patterns.
yeah.
I was like sweating bullets. Okay, so I'm talking with our new athletic director, talking with the director of transportation, and I didn't want them to miss anything, but I didn't want them traveling when we could have had some really extreme weather. So we had to do a compromise of like, you're gonna stay, and once it's over, then we'll come get you. And then, Mr. Schreiber did a great job of helping us reorganize some things because they reorganized some things. So good collaboration with everyone to keep our kids safe.
It was great, yeah, our boys didn't lose out on any of the competition sessions, they
Right.
got to still, go up against all the other schools who were there and still be able to get home and stay safe out of the worry of the storm, so it worked out well.
Yeah, our transportation department, I will say, you know, when Brian Snedeker, was put in this job, he's like, I never knew how much pressure it was with weather. And I said, it is a pressure cooker, let me tell you. It is the worst part of the job, trying to make sure that you make decisions that keep kids safe. Cannot do it without the team though. And our bus drivers had to be extremely flexible, right? And they were, so, hats off to all of them.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
I'd just like to say thank you for all you've done, both of you. You've done an outstanding job. And, I just have to wonder, after all the stuff we taught you, and this, apparently you're going to the dogs.
Well, she is going to career department. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I am.
What's the dog?
Yeah, I know they're animals too.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Although I do have to try to get her to be a dog person, she's a cat person. I'm surrounded by cat lovers. And
I'm full. Mr. King.
Congrats. Congratulations. Good luck in the future. I don't think you're gonna need it. I think it's, been well, established that you are gonna go very far. You're gonna do a lot of great things. So I just ask that you at least try to sit back and enjoy it at some point, because I know you work hard, and I know you're gonna be doing a lot of things, you'll be around, but at least try to take a minute, take a breath, enjoy it. You deserve it.
Thank you.
I think that's what's so special about these girls actually. And it seems like they work so hard and they're enjoying it at the same time. I don't know how they do it. I couldn't do that. But congratulations again and good luck to you. And I may need your number because you got a dog that's always in trouble.
you really do, Stu.
Oh, he ate 2 tamales. That means he ate the corn husk. So, I'm giving him, I had to call that. I had to give him hydrogen peroxide, like 2 ounces, to try to make him throw up. The first dose didn't affect him at all, nor did the second dose. So, sometime during the day, the next day, he finally threw up. And he did not chew him. No, he, Daniel made 4, ate 2, he went back to get the next 2, and the dog helped himself.
Okay. Grace will be able to help you in the future.
Yeah, I'm gonna be,
Give me about 10 years and I'll be there. Hopefully shorter. But, I just wanna say thank you for all the kind words that you guys have said about me and again for this experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm glad that I have been able to give you guys some insight on what happens within the schools. And I am excited to see who takes my spot, because I know I've had a lot of people ask me for advice and things like that. But yeah, I'm very excited for my next chapter, and I'm excited to see what my other friends that are still in the school district do.
Right, and you should tell them not only are you going to Purdue, and you'll be in the School of Agriculture that's part of the veterinarian program down there, but let's tell them what you were invited to do down there. equate that to getting, it's, you know, like their veterinarian school is a lot like engineering at Purdue. It's very well known, and to think that you got into both of those honors programs in there is just amazing. That's why I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Flores.
Yeah, so those programs are very competitive, and they just have like a limited number of students they could allow in, so congratulations.
Thank you.
The honors program, you're staying in the honors.
Dorms,
dorm?
yes.
Nice.
I get
So
AC.
that's-
Yay.
Yes, so that's one of the newest dorms that.
I get
And,
AC.
the hotel.
Yeah.
Very, very nice, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And, I'd like to update, we have 2 female wrestlers, competing for nationals down at Westfield, Indiana, representing Team Indiana. We have,
Corbella
Corbella
Wesley.
Wesley, okay, she's on Team Indiana for the juniors, and they're taking second. And then we also have Alexis Rodriguez, she's, 16 and under, 16B, and their teams are 4.
Oh,
So,
excellent.
this is nationally, so they're both competing at a high level right now.
You said individually or team?
They're part of the team,